Hi, welcome. Thank you for getting here on this sunny day finally.
Thanks for having me.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Valerie Napolitana. Um, I am a cosmetic chemist and Uber driver and upright employee and a whole bunch of other things in my life. I've kind of gotten to the point where I just have to make it work.
I hear that. So you're a jack of all trades there. You have all these different careers going on.
Well, maybe a Jill of all trades, but yeah.
Excuse me, exactly.
Um,
Jill of all trades. Yes. I mean, I've been there where you have to just work 15 jobs. So, you live in Bergen County or you work in Bergen County, correct?
both.
Oh, okay, good, good, good. All right, so I'm going to ask you, how does the LGBT community relate to you?
So I am a transgender person. I identify as transgender woman. And the community to me has been pretty much everything at this point. Without, the people I've met, and granted, we're scattered all over the place. I don't think I could have made it. I don't think I would have been able to come out. I don't think I would have been able to live my life. I think I, have a lot of problems to work out.
I'm so, I'm sorry and glad to hear that you have that support network, and I'm sorry that sounds like it's a bit of a struggle for you. Um,
Tends to be.
so my question to you is, what are your thoughts on the fact that Bergen County does not have an LGBT center, and do you think it is needed in your experience?
Well, my thoughts on that are that I think that shows completely where the government is at and where our, m- where most of the sentiment lies with terms of people with who would be able to build such a thing, who would be able to help us with such a thing. It's been disturbing to see what has happened in terms of my divorce and other. um situations where I've needed, help, not just from the government and law enforcement, but from pretty much anyone, whether it be a homeless shelter, a soup kitchen. There are very, very few and far between uh, places where we can go and, organizations that, can actually help us. So many of them are very, very religiously slanted. And although I know yours is, uh, the Unitarian Church is to a degree, it's not the same connotation. Not having a community center here, I think, is probably one of the worst decisions the state could make. I think Bergen County is absolutely essential and needs to have one. It's it would be incredible. I know there's one down. I'm gonna forget where it even is because it's so far south. There's a few other places down the south, but frankly, if you can drive all the way to the Missoni Center in Philadelphia, and there's nothing worth talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right, and that's exactly why I'm doing this project because if not fault of our own, for one reason or another, we don't. I mean, I'm talking about LGBT people. We don't fit into the mainstream, and because we don't, we lack all these services, and we lack the ability to build our own, future, our own lives. So I'm trying to highlight that, and thank you for sharing your thoughts on that. That's exactly how I feel at the moment.
Well, I appreciate that, and I'm glad you're trying to help. I think it's something we're all trying to do in our various ways, and I wish you a lot of luck in it.
Yeah.
Um, I guess what I'd say is if we had a place for all of our resources and to be collected, that tends to be one of the major steps for any of us, especially for transgender people as we come out, because so much of it is steeped in ignorance. We've only had the word transgender for 20 years, and most people are still waking up to it no matter how much they cry about it in the media these days. Um, and I've found that, people in other states where they have certain support are much better off, have a lot more access to the care they need. They can get on hormones quicker if they feel that way. And I know this for a fact. If you're just across the river in Brooklyn, you don't need a job, you don't need um, to have a roof over your head, even. They will help you. They find these things for you, they find support for you, they enroll you in all sorts of programs, the government assists them. It is transformational to be just across the river. And you come over here and it's kind of like you're on your own.
Yeah. And okay, so in my talks with many different people, there's there's this thought that like, well, then why don't you just go across the river to get your services? It's just right there.
Oh, I
And
tried that.
yeah, no, you know what I mean? This is literally the thought. It's like, well, you can go to New York and get services and drive back and forth. Could you talk to that a little bit? Because I don't think people get what they're asking of us to do.
So, unless you can find a residence over in New York, get your ID changed to a New York ID, and, really show them that you're a New Yorker, the benefits don't apply to you. In fact, the organization doesn't apply to you. So, they don't really want to help you. I literally walked in there with a girl who had a New York State ID, said she was living in Brooklyn, had a Brooklyn lease that, basically was just a couple of our friends helping her out with the address. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that or not, but it's out
We're
there.
not mentioning names, so it's
Um,
fine.
and me and her went to the same organization. She got full health benefits. She got a rent voucher. She got, a subway card. She got everything you could possibly think of. I was told, well, maybe there's something in New Jersey for you. And now I am not a woman without means. I do quite a lot to make a significant amount, even if most of it goes out the door to ex-wives and my daughter and, so many other business activities that I'm involved in. It's still an enormous burden on me to have all of those other things. You're talking almost $2,000 a month. And for most people, I know that's they're incapable of it. That's not just, the things that, they'd be that's not just the luxuries, those are the necessities. And I know that because I have to pay for them and literally work to the point that I don't get to sleep at night working for them because there is no other option. You can either do that or move, and frankly, the moving is just as expensive in the short term,
Yeah,
even more so, really.
yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, what you're saying, is literally the reason why I'm trying to create something here. Literally me trying to get all these people to hear people like your voices.
Yeah.
And I hear it too often and it breaks my heart and I don't know what to do and how to help. So my this is my way of trying to help is if I have enough people telling their story, it's very difficult to ignore. You know, you to ignore a face saying, "This is my experience. This is what I've been going through." So my goal is to get at least 200 people to talk out about this in Bergen County,
Okay.
and hopefully, and it's like it's not just the government that I'm talking about. It's like, people within the county. We could put something together. We have a lot of wealthy people here and that are gay and all this stuff. We need to wake up and recognize there's a need and someone needs to do something. And that's what this project is, to raise awareness of needs for people like you and others that are doing. So Offline we'll talk a little more. But if there's anything I can ever do, please do not hesitate to reach out. Uh,
Likewise, thank you so much. I think what you're doing here is really incredible,
mm.
and I'd like to be a part of it in what small ways I can.
Well, I think they're not small. I think it's momentous. Just the amount of courage for you to come and talk about this and speak your truth is not an easy thing to do. And to that point, I we don't know each other really. I saw you at one of your jobs, and I just accosted you, say, "Please do this." But I want you to understand what I saw. I saw someone that's incredibly strong, incredibly needed and valued in our community, and it's like a beacon of light. If you can stand out there and do what you're doing
Oh,
day to day, it's so important to have people like you out there. So I just want you to know that, and that's what I saw when I saw you. And you're very, very needed in our community and loved and wanted. And we're gonna do what we can to make that happen.
well, thank you. That's very encouraging.
um, so, is there other issues you want to bring up? This is your platform. It's really for you to have your voice to say what you need to say.
Um, I suppose I'd leave off on the faster we can get resources and help to not really just me, because I'm kind of stable, much more stable than most of my friends, but we need help. Like,
Mhm.
there's no other way to put it. We need help. I think that's just the message I need to say.
Yeah,
There's so many of us in this county alone that, I mean, day to day, the people here are nice. You say there's many LGBTs, there's many very accepting people. Even the more conservative ones will kind of grumble, but they'll be okay as people.
yeah,
But in terms of the resources and support that we need as, you know, LGBTs, when we're, kicked out of our homes, when, we have friends come from other states that would not be accepting of them, as it, as things happen in our lives, we need the help.
yeah. And so I wanna one of the things I keep pointing out to people, and it's from what I see, when people say LGBT, they think of gay men who are a little bit effeminate, and that's sort of like their view of it. That's it. Doesn't go beyond that. It's
Yeah,
just that it. Maybe lesbians, but really they're just thinking gay men. And unfortunately, those that group, if you're a white gay man, typically you have more means or access to money and better situations. So after marriage equality, you know, we got Grinder. There's not a lot of fight left, right? um, so what I'm trying to say here is like, well, with you, do you do you think there's okay, this is what I'm trying to say. I'm sorry, I'm going around in circles here. When I talk to people, they say we don't need anything. We got everything. And I say, well, what happens if you're sexually assaulted? What happens if you're gay bashed? What happens if you're in a domestic violence? What happens if you're thrown out unfairly and targeted because of your orientation or your gender identity? What happens? What is your plan if that happens to you now? And then they're like, oh, I didn't think of that. And it's not in their worldview. So I want to ask you that same question and being sensitive that it's a very difficult, this is a very real issues for you.
yeah, they are very real issues. And I'd say there's civil rights issues. There's many people who kind of lose the fight over time in civil rights because what we've fought for as a group has come to fruition and benefits certain people the most. I'm in that position where I didn't know who to call when I was getting assaulted during an Uber drive. I didn't know, where to go because I didn't have a place to stay that night. And although those are very real things that have literally happened to me in the past year, I can see that there's other people who didn't need to didn't go through any of that, who probably won't go through any of that. People who we need their support and help. People who are literally allies that are part of the LGBT rainbow that may not see the B, sorry, the L, the B, the T, the I, the A, the all the others because they're part of their part. And that's okay. We've kind of compartmentalized ourselves in that way. But it's the rainbow, it's all of us. It's literally all of us sexual creatures that are supposed to be in this fight to fight for our civil rights, to uphold human dignity and our humanity, to make the next steps so that it's easier for our friends, for our children, for our next generation. Because that's really what this fight is about. It's not about what happened 50 years ago because that was literally I was an illegal person. I couldn't have walked down the street.
Yeah,
50 years ago here, yeah, we have some luxuries that many people of our community can enjoy. Some states even have, the things that we need to transition. We need to uh, do all sorts of things. They give us healthcare, they give us support, they give us, the ability to go around on public transportation. But we can't stop where we're at. We can't leave people behind. And I know we're leaving people behind because they're my friends. And that's what I'd have to say to people who may not be in the fight right now.
thank you. And thank you for being courageous and what just sitting here talking. Just thank you.
Well,
I know
thank you for giving me a voice. I truly do appreciate it.
well, it's anytime I'm here. Um, so I, unless you have anything to add, I think we're coming to an end of our discussion. Unless you want to add something.
No, I'm okay.
Okay. So, do you feel comfortable with what we talked about here? This is everything. Okay. And
Yes,
we're being recorded, and that this is going to be used to be made public on a web page at a later date. And do you give consent?
yes.
Okay.
I hope the car isn't too much. uh,
But it's not about looking like professional to me. I mean, look, I'm sitting on my bed with this. Most of these videos are me with this pillow on my back here. um, it's about
but you
what
do look comfortable.
it's about what people have to say. It's about hearing your voice, and if they don't recognize that, well, I'm sorry, I don't have all the extra bells and whistles. You know.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, actually, I think it's kind of fitting that we ended up on this setting and not my friend's spare room because this is kind of where I've lived my life for the past year since I came out. This is, where I've slept, where I've worked, where I've gotten to places. This is where I've picked up, trans girls who got kicked out of their house and everything in between.
wow. Um,
So,
I differently. I was in that kind of a situation, not for trans gender issues, but my own personal issues. So I can really relate, especially in the winter and trying to sleep in the car and putting the heat on and then taking it off on and off, on and
I
off.
know, because you don't want to burn the gas.
Yes, you don't want to burn the gas. It's like, and I can appreciate that life. I've done it. And try not to be harassed by police and where to find a place to stay. So thank you. Thank you so much. Um, I'm gonna end the recording. So if you want to say
Mhm.
goodbye.